The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Ben Weesey with WSI B2B Marketing, and we have Hubert Hopkins on with us today. And this morning, we're going to lead you through LinkedIn social selling and how to use LinkedIn to improve your B2B manufacturing or maritime business. So we're going to give a couple more seconds here to let people get in and get situated. In the meantime, let us know. Make sure you can hear me okay. You can see the screen and the presentation is up. So we want to put into the chat that you can hear us okay. I'll also be on standby for any questions, so we'll get those addressed at the end. So feel free to type those away as you come up with them.
Yeah, thanks, Ben, and welcome to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And we're going to give you a quick overview of our process for this LinkedIn social selling, and we're excited by it because it's really an important new source of leads for us, for our company particularly, and also several of our clients are using this as well with success. LinkedIn is just an important part of business these days, and if you're manufacturing a maritime company like we service, may even be more important. We've got another webinar coming in 3 weeks now about a big Google update called MUM, M-U-M, and that's going to change how search results are shown and just upset the apple cart a little bit in terms of SEO and other things. So this LinkedIn social selling may be very timely for a lot of you. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. What is social selling? Well, what it is to us is having a way to generate lots of leads, something that's a lead generation process that's scalable and it's repeatable. And so, cold calling does that, going to trade shows in a methodical way and follow up and all that does that. And LinkedIn can do it for you too. And if you're not using LinkedIn for this, it's worth a strong consideration. So what we're going to cover is really try to talk you through the big picture of social selling, which is to maximize your LinkedIn messaging, get the most out of what you're presenting, both your brand, your company, as well as you personally on LinkedIn, and then how to find and target new leads. That's there's a couple of ways to do it. You can do it more organically, or you can be kind of killer about it with using Sales Navigator, and we're going to talk about that. And then the last thing is, how do you get that call or that meeting? And that's the toughest part, of course, like any kind of cold call, cold marketing. So let's talk about why we're doing this. Of course, is to expand your lead generation. We talked about that. The ability to target people, and Ben's going to talk about targeting quite a bit, but your ability to target people demographically is really excellent on LinkedIn. And if you haven't tried that and worked that, you'll probably be amazed. Also, it's scalable. Now, there are some industries, some markets that there are just not that many customers, and this may not work for. But for us, we're working two fairly small markets: manufacturing, kind of heavy-duty industrial manufacturing, and maritime marine industry. And those are not the hugest industries, and we have a very large source of leads from those. And then the last thing is to expand your company brand, because if you're working all of this on LinkedIn, more and more people know about you, know about your brand. So all of those things are important. Ben, you want to add a couple of things to that?
No, I think that hit the nail on the head. The scalable piece is one of the most important, where if you go out and are doing this by yourself on your own, you might be getting a little bit of traction. It could be anywhere from 5 new leads to 10, right? Whereas you can outsource this and really ramp it up to be in the 25 new connections and new potential leads for you, a day, a week. So in terms of that, it is some goodness there too. So.
Okay, great. So getting the basics in place. First thing is your own profile, your business's LinkedIn business page, the company page, getting some good graphics on there, getting the messaging to be very precise what you do. You can read ours here, trying to help people grow a more successful business, and we help manufacturing and maritime companies. And so try to make that as clear as you possibly can. Same with your personal profile. I went back to my Navy picture and a submarine in the background as we were targeting the maritime business, and that gave me a lot of credibility right up front. So anything you can do to make yourself stand out is important as you get these basics in place. And it's more than those couple of things. There's probably a checklist of 20 things you want to do to make sure your company page and your profile are all set up correctly. But if those things are good, then you've got a good launch pad for generating leads. Also important is a strategy. So how are you going to measure this? Ben mentioned, you might get 25 new connections a week. Well, is that a goal? What is it? 5? Is it 25? Is it 100? So you develop those things and then you work from there. So anything like this, any initiative needs to start with a good set of goals. Ben, any comments on this? I know you set up all of these for us for the most part. So comments?
Well, as you mentioned, you can go find checklists on how to optimize your LinkedIn company page, and that's going to include using LinkedIn articles and uploading some sales slicks and some PowerPoints. Those are all helpful things just to round out your profile. The other key piece is in that strategy is to develop a persona and a voice, both from the company standpoint. You're going to be lighthearted and fun and really be engaged, or you're going to be more serious and a thought leader, and how you're going to have that tone come across. The other piece to consider, even with the company page, is you need to have key people, right? There needs to be some level of executives and VPs that are also engaging in conversations, offering their insight, and really keeping that conversation going on behalf of the business. So.
Right, and that's an important point Ben makes it. In our lead generation social selling process, it's a combination of a person, usually the lead salesperson in the company or salespeople, and the company LinkedIn page itself. So the first step, of course, after you've got your basics set up, is to get busy posting. This is just a little example of an animation that we did, and I'll let Ben talk about what kind of things people like to see. But they love videos. They love anything that catches their attention. It doesn't have to be real complicated. Sometimes the most simple things are the ones that get the most views. I think this got several hundred, I think 500 or 600 views, which is a lot for us. So once you get in the a flow of posting things on LinkedIn, it's easy enough to do it once or twice a week, and that's really about all it takes. So Ben, talk to us about what kinds of things to post here.
Sure. Well, the important part of why you need to post is as you start reaching out to these folks, they're going to go click on your link and see who you are. And you want to have some level of content out there so they get an idea of what you're sharing, whether it's worthwhile to even connect with you. So, the key piece of that is what type of things do you find interesting on LinkedIn? And typically those are going to be things that make your life easier or better or can impact your business in a positive way. So you want to be sure to keep that in mind as you do your posting. A lot of times it's really easy to gloat and brag and you want to talk about how great your company is, but it's really important to kind of to turn that around and how it's useful for that potential lead. You mentioned videos, but there's, it's a little bit easier to gather content than you might originally think. It doesn't all have to be, long form blog articles that you create or anything like that. You can share third party images. You can share, any templates that you might use. Even your own customers, showcase them, how you help them. That's an easy way to also capitalize on their audience. If you tag them, their audience is going to see your kind of involvement in that. So again, why do they care about it is what to kind of keep in the back of your head.
Right.
Help along
So
with.
Ben has
Oh,
go ahead, Ben.
To help you along, we're going to share our template whenever or after the webinar ends and we send out all the materials and recordings. I'll also share a Google Sheet that we use. It's a modified from, I think, maybe HubSpot or one of the big platforms, but we've converted it to use for our use, and you're welcome to have it. So it has a content calendar and then kind of some checkpoints and what needs to be done and searching for links and images. So.
Yeah, the point of this is not to make it too complicated, but I know if you don't have I know from firsthand experience, if you don't have a content calendar and a template for managing this, things just, you kind of forget about it. Oh my God, it's Saturday and I got to think, I didn't do anything last week and I have to have some post by the end of the week, or, so it helps avoid all that, and it reduces a lot of stress. Okay, next is you got your profile, you got your basics done. You're now posting, you're out there, you're active on LinkedIn. That's all good. Most of you probably are anyway. So then how do you grow your network, and how do you put really this on steroids? So there is the natural, or I call it the slower way. You can connect with people. You might come across them, they might look at your profile for some reason. They were looking at somebody else, saw you, looked. Uh, that can happen. You can ask all your first degree connections on LinkedIn for introductions to other people. You can search through groups and interest, and you can personalize your messaging, that sort of thing. You can work all that, and it will help you on LinkedIn. But the real key is the Use Sales Navigator, and that's for two things that it brings to you. One is targeting. It's really extremely powerful search tools based on demographics and company size and people's titles, that sort of thing. And then also the quantity of the leads that you can generate. There's just no way you're going to generate this many leads uh, in the natural way if you don't use Sales Navigator. So the other things it does is it gives you 30 email messages per month. I used a couple of those this morning in the third level connections on LinkedIn, sent them a message. You can save up to 3,000 leads in here, which you're not using it as a substitute for your CRM system, but it can be a way to help you organize the LinkedIn lead generation you're doing. And then the other really important thing is it'll give you an email and a phone number. Now the email may be a Google Mail, but I have found that 90% of the time the email is good. Maybe a Gmail account, maybe something else, but I'd say over half the time it's a real company email address, and the phone number could actually find them if you work it hard enough. So Ben, let's talk to the next page, which is targeting, which is really your expertise, I think.
Yeah, the key part of this is that it lets you slice off any data point that LinkedIn has on file for that user. So we use it by, obviously selecting the industries we mentioned earlier. You can then have certain company sizes. For us, too big of a company has some large agency. Too small of a company doesn't have enough budget. So you can really fine tune the companies that you want to go after. After that, obviously you can get the position and title and connections and things like that, which are important to be talking to the right people. We found that, opening that up even a little bit, we've been able to get referrals to who to talk to within that company. That's been pretty beneficial. And then again, any piece of data. So new jobs, any experiences shared, interest, all those you can kind of filter by. A couple neat examples are we had a client that was doing this, and they were targeting CFOs that had been on the job less than 3 years, since in their eyes they had something to prove and were more likely to buy their software. So it was a really nice way to target. This last one on here, the keywords, my wife does business development and for a nonprofit, and we've been able to weave these into her searches, where if someone mentions community giving or volunteer experience, along with a decision-making title, they're more likely to work with nonprofits. So it's been a really neat tool for her to open up some leads for her. So.
Okay, good. So what do you do with all this targeting? Well, on the left, there's a small snippet of a search I did for a client for shipyard design engineers, and it generated a fairly long list of people who were working in shipyards. They had Navy or Coast Guard connection, and these were the people that our client wanted to target. And they had a product, they were building modules, aluminum ship modules, and wanted to connect with shipyard designers, engineers, project managers, those type of job titles, and we were able to do that. You can see VP of Engineering and CIO of General Dynamics. I mean, that's a pretty valuable lead. Then the other thing you can do is separate these leads into different lead lists. So we just showed you our list from our company's list, just a small part of the leads that we manage. And so you can make lead lists. You can use as many of them as you want to manage your 3,000 leads on LinkedIn. So we've got some that we're actively marketing to, some that we've written off, some that we're waiting to connect on for the right time. And we can go back and look at those and manage those. So Ben, I'll let you talk through this again. This, what do we want? When we get these lists, all that's lovely. We got the CIO of General Dynamics, but is that really a good lead for us? What kind of questions should we ask? And we just wanted to give you some examples. Ben?
That's right. Once you get a list of 300 folks, they're not going to all be perfect. So what we do is first ask our own marketing qualified questions. And in this case, it's a little bit about their website and their digital presence, what they do. So on top of being the right person from the right size company, we also need to make sure that there's some level of need to qualify them for us. And that's what that does. That puts them in kind of the really sweet bucket. From there, we have this other checklist of how we can best message them, because that's kind of the next key piece of this. And again, they're fairly straightforward. Look for mutual connections, look for their level of LinkedIn activity, kind of see their jobs, their personal interests, and really, when we go through this list, it's 100%. Is there any way that I can connect with this person on a somewhat secondary level? So for Hugh, there's a lot of nice Navy connections that he can make, knowing that industry. There are, places that we've lived and, even places that we've been that are able to connect with us.
Yeah, schools are a great place. I connect a lot with Auburn and George Washington University and Duke to some degree where my son went. But there's a lot of ways to generate that conversation, and so that's what you're looking for, is what's the commonality between you and this lead. And then you could put this all into some number system, or what we do is just a gut feel. Yep, that's a good one. I'm gonna work that lead. Okay, now once you've got this list of leads, the next part is, how do you message them? How do you ask for a call or a meeting? And that's really the hard part. People hate to give you a phone call. I found that getting a meeting may be easier if you've done your research. Sometimes that's actually easier, but like a 10-minute call, people are really reluctant to that because they don't like being sold to. So you've got to really do some testing on your messaging, work on building that relationship. Do you have short messages, long messages? Do you call them, email? If you're the kind of company, if you're a local company who's doing a lot of this in person, that's even a little bit of different. But you can see over on the right, we have standard LinkedIn messages, we have standard email messages, and that works okay. But what I'll say is, how carefully you craft that message is really important. And you can see, here's an example. You got Diana on the left who says, are you interested in learning these top metrics? And it's like pretty vague. She uses the same message on everybody. The guy on the right, Destin, he's asking B2B companies, that's us, lead generation, we worked at, manufacturing clients. He's looked at our business enough, looked at our website to do a little bit of research before he pops off a message. So that's a lot better. Anything to add, Ben?
No, that hit it exactly. So and we all have these messages in our inbox, right? I mean, we've all seen them, and you can see what differences those make. So, good.
And still, I would say this is hard, right? So if you've gone this far and doing this, you're probably doing okay. But if you really want to do superb, here's the ticket to it. And that's a software product that interfaces, at least I interface it with Google Chrome, and it's called Crystal Knows. It has a standalone website, but I use it connected with LinkedIn and with Chrome. So what Crystal Knows does is it uses a predictive aptitude assessment tool called DISC, D-I-S-C, and it has 4 quadrants to say, are you a dominant person, or conscientious, or steady, or intellectual, or influencer rather. It's one of those personality things, and to tell you that. But then it goes beyond that, and what it does is it interfaces directly with LinkedIn. It'll give you advice on how to book a meeting. Be strong and straightforward. Express your excitement about the meeting. If a person is a dominant person, you want to be short and sweet. They're the driver type personalities. And it's going to give you exact recommendations to how to communicate with this person, whether it be LinkedIn, email, on the phone, in a presentation, that sort of thing. And my friend and partner John Asher had talked about Crystal Knows for a few years, and strongly recommended it. And we had resisted. It's a paid service. I think it costs us $50 a month or something. We had resisted it, but once we started using Crystal Knows, dramatically increases the return rate for messages you send. So if you haven't tried this and looked at this, you got to give it a trial for a while. I actually think they have a free trial, but Crystal Knows is like, besides Sales Navigator, is the secret sauce to really how you make this messaging work. So you can do all this lead generation and getting lists and using Sales Navigator and all that, but if you don't personalize your messages to these people and do it right, you're going to fail. So really important, and be happy to take questions on this. And how does it know? That's a good, because how does it know what the personality type is? What Crystal Knows does is it looks at the messages that people have used online. It looks at anything they can find out on the internet about this person, and on LinkedIn particularly, how they write up their profile, that sort of the kinds of words they use, and it's estimating this. And I found it to be 95% accurate. If it says this person is a dominant question or dominant personality, and I send them a short, sweet email, it works more often than not. Okay, so that's the process. Again, just to summarize, it's all about getting the basics on LinkedIn proper, which I would guess most of you probably have that. But then it's using Sales Navigator to target and to generate lead lists for people you'd like to connect with. And then it's messaging and using Crystal Knows and personalizing to get that 10-minute phone call or get that 30-minute sales presentation with them, and putting together all your tips and tricks of how you get them to agree to that. So now there's parts of this. Well, let me ask before we say how we can help. Ben, anything to add to what I was on a roll on toward the end there?
No, that the other thing I was just mentioning with Crystal Knows is that we've ran it against people we know, and dang it, if it is not accurate, it's almost mind-boggling how well those personality tests work, and they really do peg you and get you pretty close. So,
right. All right. So we have a process for this to help our clients, and we can help with anything from posting to the lead data mining, making and managing connections. I mean, we have, we can set up the whole spreadsheet of leads and test messages and do A versus B testing. And so we can offer anything from a piece part of this process all the way up to a full end-to-end solution. So that concludes our presentation. We thank you for that. If you got more information, please give us a call or email us, and we'll stay on the line for a while and answer questions if we have any. Ben, Tiffany?
let me look here. No, anyone have any questions? Type them in, or if not, join us on, let's see, it's March 2nd for another good discussion about Google Mum Update. So.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. We're not going to have all the answers, but people do need to start thinking about this, because when Google rolls it out, it's going to change Google search results and change how we do SEO and a lot of things like that. So.
All right. Thank you.
All
Thanks.
right, good enough. Well, appreciate everybody, and you guys have a great day. Thank you.